right, guys, welcome back. It is the GSL Code S. I almost said Code A there, but it's actually Code S. I'm Doa. With me is Moltrap. You know what, Moltrap? It is good to be back in Korea. I had a ton of fun casting the IPL 3 in New Jersey, in America, but it's good to be back in Korea. Good to be back casting the GSL again.
Good to have you back, Doa.
Well, thank you. Good to be back in the
unfortunately, I didn't get to catch much IPL. But the little I did see was pretty darn good. It was fun to watch.
A lot of fun.
Well, here it was between like 11 a.m. and like 8 a.m.
Yeah,
and I've been trying to get my sleep schedule back on like a sort of normal pattern lately.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, well, I can watch live or I can actually not be exhausted all the time and watch the VODs later, so I still have some VODs to catch up on.
That's like the funny thing with going from America to Korea, because when I was in America before I came here, I was like, oh, this is awesome. The GSL will be at a normal time. I can watch it. And then it's like, oh, wait, now like MLG and all the other stuff, I can't watch that stuff at a normal time anymore. Oh, well, you got to sacrifice something, right, for what you love, so it's not bad at all. But we have got two very exciting matches today, Moltrap.
That's the important thing now is the only thing going on today is MMA versus Clyde, and of course Coca versus Happy.
Yeah.
We have two excellent matches coming out for you right now. I am really, really stoked about these games, actually. Clyde on the verge of maybe actually getting as far as...
I know.
Tastelosis says that he's going to be. They say he's the best human being on the earth and the best StarCraft player in the history, both past and future, of StarCraft. And he hasn't quite lived up to that just yet.
Well, he's certainly a solid Terran player. He's certainly a Terran player that has a lot of really intelligent, interesting builds as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's only a matter of time before this guy does go really deep into Code S. And that's the thing. He's never been to the up and downs. He's always really good. And I don't know. The thing is, I was talking to Coach Lee just a couple minutes ago, TSL coach, for those of you who may not know it, who Coach Lee is. And he said that he was a little bit worried about Clyde because both Alive had been at IPL 3, and Polt had actually gone to America to get ready for MLG. So that means that Clyde only had TSL Hart to practice TVT with. And, while Hart is, he's been in the GSL up a couple times, he's definitely not on the level that Alive and Optimus and certainly MMA is as well. So a little bit worried about the practice that Clyde's got in the last couple days.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned that because yesterday I was talking to Ganji, Slayer's Ganji. His teammates, all of his Terran teammates, were out of the country.
Same thing.
He practiced with Lochi, who's a Slayer's player, Lotze, who not many people know about too much.
Is it pronounced Lochi? I thought it was always Lochi.
That's how Sela pronounced it. Or Ganji pronounced it. He said it was pronounced Lochi.
Oh, well, there you go.
Or Lachi is how he said it.
Lachi. Well, there you go. It's pronounced Lachi.
There you go. Anyway, so point being, Ganji did okay. Nonetheless,
he didn't do bad.
We might see the same situation. That's not necessarily going to be too much of a disadvantage because he might have other practice partners too.
Yeah.
Outside of his team.
Well, he's got Teja, I suppose, and a couple other people as well. But and the thing is with MMA, he just got back from Korea yesterday. I mean, I was on the flight with MMA. I mean, we were away the whole weekend, but. It's and I'm actually not that tired. I feel like it's easier to go from America to Korea, although I did
sleep. You did sleep a long time.
I slept for 15 hours straight when I got back, actually. Yeah. So, well, anyway, check it out. Here's our results from yesterday and our matches for today. Yesterday we saw I'm MVP taking down Nesty. Nesty can never beat MVP in a best of series, apparently. And Slayer's Ganji took down OGS Supernova in, kind of a sloppy TVT. I mean, you guys heard Making down. Tasteless and Artosis talk about that a lot. And then today's matches, of course, we do have TSL Clyde versus Slayer's MMA, and I'm Happy versus Slayer's Coca.
Yep.
It's going to be a good day.
It is going to be a good day. We have a lot of players, actually, today where this is their first real major. I think Clyde might have gotten to the round of 8 before. If I'm not mistaken. I'd have to double check on that.
Yeah, it was either the round of 8 or the semis at one point, I'm sure, yeah.
But, yeah, so MMA, of course, he was in second place in the Super Tournament, so he's gotten very far as well. But you have Happy and Coca. This is both of their first kind of chance to really get too far. I mean, Happy just coming out of the up and down matches of last season, if I remember correctly. So this is his first real run. Same with Coca, really getting far in his first try. Ganji really getting far on his first try in Code S. I mean, he won Code A last season and has been shooting up through Code S as well. Mm-hmm. So a lot of players really just coming out and showing their skills that they apparently haven't had the chance to show up until now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's true. Happy and Coca are kind of the new kids on the block for the Code S, and I don't know. I really feel like I've got some very strong predictions for how the rest of the season is going to go. I might share those later, but we'll see. Anyway, here is TSL Clyde. It's Clyde Day, Clyde Day. I'm sorry. Thanks a lot, Gary Oak Robotron, for making me tell that joke on GSL. Anyway, there's Clyde. He's always very good. He's always very consistent. You can see that. There's a lot of wins down there at the bottom.
Yeah, he is. I think consistent is the best way of describing him. I don't think you could quite describe him as like really good, but he's consistent and he's solid. I like the word they used earlier, solid. And that's why he's never really been in danger of getting down to Code A, but he's also never really progressed that far because he's just solid enough to really be, a solid competitor, but he's not quite Gosu enough to really beat the MVPs and the Nesties and the other players that he's meeting in the round of 16 to really get very far in the tournament.
Yeah, he's the type of guy that, by playing so consistently, I really feel like it almost ensures that he's either going to get to a finals or win a finals at some point. Just because, those top players, they won't be top players forever, but Clyde will always be Clyde, and he'll always be steadily improving. I'll check out those Clyde burns, that little Clyde smile there. You can hashtag Clyde burns if you want. Clyde was actually asking on Twitter, he was like, Clyde burns, what is this? On Twitter. I think we explained it to him. I think he knows now. But look at that guy. It's Slayers MMA. Wow, he does actually look a little bit tired.
Yeah, he looks like he might be looking a little bit haggard, but maybe from practicing more than the flight at this point.
That's the thing. Here's the thing is I talked to him on the way back. I'm like, so when you get back, sleep, right? And he's like, no, practice. And I'm like, all right, MMA. I'm like, well, make sure you get enough sleep too. But look at that. Doing good as well. Of course, another good Terran.
It was the same for Ganji. He said that he hadn't slept much because he was practicing so much. He actually skipped dinner to keep practicing.
Wow.
And he was hungry during his match, but he still...
hardcore.
Yeah, he was pretty hardcore. But, look at that, man. Meeting Keen and Nada and ASD. That's the other thing going on here is MMA, he's had a lot more experience recently versus other Terran players than most have, but so has Clyde. Both of them have been playing Terran players. So it's going to be really interesting to see how things go down in that sense. Both players having really good Terran versus Terran matchups as well.
I think in Code S, most Terran players have the most experience playing other Terran players.
Well, true. That's actually true. Fair enough. Anyway, Terran TVT is Clyde's best matchup statistically. MMA is very, very good versus Zerg, but he has about the same win rate versus Terrans as well. So really hard to kind of pick who's going to be
I don't know,
victor here.
I don't know. We've got two players that haven't maybe gotten the most efficient practice they wanted to in the last week or so here, but they're both very good too. So
the way I'm thinking about this match, the way it's going to go is this. It's better visual, but I'll use numbers instead.
All right,
I would say Clyde is about an 8.
All right.
Clyde is an 8. MMA sometimes, like in the Arena Legends, he plays at a 6 level. Sometimes, like for most of the Super Tournament, he plays at a 9.5. He has the capability of playing extremely high level, but he doesn't always bring that A game. And I think that's going to be what determines this match. If MMA brings his absolute top game, he's going to win. And if he doesn't, Clyde is solid enough that he won't be able to. So
MMA's skill versus Clyde's spirit.
Who will be victorious? We're going to find out.
I feel the spirit of Clyde Burns in this room tonight.
Well, we're going to feel the spirit of dual sight in just a moment. Game 1 is about to begin. MMA versus Clyde. Game 1. Get in the game.
All right, guys. Thank you to our awesome sponsors. First of all, there they are, flying around the screen. Woo! Crazy sponsor logos. And there is our yellow Terran from the Team TSL with the awesomest sideburns in all of StarCraft 2. He is...
Yes, there's Clyde.
And there's a visual depiction of what Clyde would look like in a marine suit. And there is Clyde.
Do any other players have sideburns of any kind?
Oh, yeah, some do. Lasira kind of does. Lasira's more known for his multicolored hair changing things. But here on the left side of the map is our blue Terran from the Team Slayers, just back from America. He is...
Slayers MMA.
Go.
Hopefully he's pounded a lot of Pepsi to get some caffeine levels up, get the energy he needs to compete today. Wow, he does actually look really tired. All right, so we'll have to see what we can see on dual site here. Looks like gas first for Clyde and barracks first for MMA. And if MMA doesn't get any gas at all, which if he doesn't get it on 13 or 14, it looks like he's not going to. We might see some very different openings from these guys.
Looks to be that way. Of course, in the past, we've more seen it's been a tendency of Slayers players to go for early Hellions, mech type units, but of course since the patch that has completely changed, Terran vs. Terran has been mostly Marine tank lately.
Yeah, it has, Moltrap, and I'm sad about that. I liked the 40-minute plus mech games, 100 Seeker Missile and like 60 Vikings at a time on the screen, and I love that stuff.
There's still been a few of those lately.
Good. I think it's going to come back. I really feel like mech is going to be the future of TVT. People are going to realize that they can still do well with it.
Who was it MVP played in the round of 16? They had some long games. Was it Keen, I think?
Don't ask me that, Moltrap.
Sorry.
I don't remember.
Anyway, so yes, MMA just going for no gas still, and he actually has stopped the scout from getting into his base. Clyde sent out a little bit later scout, so he doesn't know what's going on inside there. He doesn't know if their gas has been taken or not. And another SCV
nice
scout
depot.
gets in here.
Yep.
And he's going to see everything.
You know, when a worker's coming up the ramp like that and another worker's about to build a building there, what's to stop them just from like slamming the building foundation down on the worker as they enter the base? Why don't SCVs do that? Oh, goodbye SCV.
I don't know.
They're too passive. They should really just be like, I'm just going to put this building on top of you. I'm not going to wait till you go by.
It's the same reason why an orbital command can't land on top of a Zergling.
Yeah.
It's just the magic of the StarCraft universe.
It's the StarCraft motto should be, we'll kill you with anything except buildings. Unless the buildings have guns on them.
It's true. Some buildings can kill you.
Some buildings, yeah. But not in the way you would think. I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, so MMA going for 1 racks into a command center and then getting both of his gases so he can start teching up afterwards.
Yep. Pretty quick stim for Clyde as well, so not really... This is interesting by Clyde, actually. He's not going to do any sort of little opening harassment type thing. He's just going to go straight into a push after he takes the second base that he'll try to do some damage with.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. He went for an expansion build still. He went for the command center up at the top of his base, but not until he had that gas going so he could get a very quick stim. So, very, very interesting.
Well, he basically wants to be in a situation where he can safely take that expansion, get SCVs there and all that, and also put pressure on his opponent instead of just having to sit back and defend his base.
True.
So.
And also, he didn't, I mean, this may have been a build he planned in the first place, but he also doesn't know what MMA is up to at all.
Oh, that's true, too.
So he could be like, all right, well, I need stim in case of Banshees, I need stim in case of an early attack.
That's very true as well. Yep. And MMA has been doing some teching after starting that command center, too. He did get 2 gas right away. His starport's about halfway done. And I've got a feeling we might see a Banshee out of him anyway, so Clyde will be well prepared for this with stim. Also getting a really close +1. Now, goodbye SCV. This is really good by MMA, actually, to keep sending SCVs in there, keep seeing almost everything they can see. He saw the second barracks, which is actually really big. He knows that it is going to be something more biocentric from Clyde, whether it's going to be just Marines and medevacs, or if it's going to be Marine tank.
Yeah,
that's a lot of information that MMA has now, so good job.
Yeah, I like how MMA also has a Marine camped out just to the south of Clyde's base. There it is right now, so that he can tell if Clyde is flying a Banshee out of his base or a medevac or something like that.
Now,
so MMA is just making very good use of keeping information on the map.
We also saw Clyde scan MMA, and he was scanning right as those buildings are switching too. So Clyde should have a pretty good idea that MMA is going Banshee, so MMA going with Cloak as well, and he's going to need to do a lot of damage with this. I mean, Clyde's going to have a numbers and a power advantage to his army that MMA won't be able to match. So these Banshees for MMA need to do damage.
And one Marine is so scared, he's like, oh no, there's a whole platoon after me.
That's about as lopsided as the army is going to be for a while for these 2 guys.
Yeah, MMA doesn't have a ton of forces, although if he gets attacked, he does have the defending advantage in the bunker.
Yep.
And it looks like he is going to move out and try and take his expansion.
Yep. Expansion taking time. Oh, he salvages the bunker.
I wonder if we're going to see an attack here in a minute from Clyde. He's going to he has stim already. Combat shields and +1 weapons are going to finish about the same time. It would be a nice timing for an attack. MMA will not really have a lot to deal with that. He won't have stim. He won't have tanks. He is getting Banshees out, but he's not going to have a ton to deal with any kind of early bio attack from Clyde with all those upgrades.
I think if he defends, depending on how well he defends, this Banshee aggression from MMA is going to decide how aggressive Clyde wants to be. As you can see, he doesn't have a scan right now, so he's just going to lose a good amount of Marines here if MMA micros well.
Yeah, he's very close to a scan on his second base. Once he gets that scan, he can scan, stim, and kill that Banshee very easily if it's in an okay position to attack. And we're going to see it right now.
Clyde.
It off.
Clyde's got some pretty good micro there. Starport's not going to complete for quite a while. MMA, rather, has good micro. Well, Clyde does too, but
yeah.
MMA is the one showing it off at the moment.
Clyde doesn't want to burn that scan just yet because he's on that ridge. Now that he has him trapped, so that Clyde cannot retreat. Turret complete, so that solves that as well.
Yeah.
And it runs out of energy, so that double solves that.
Yep. Double solved. That's the best kind of solving.
That's right.
And MMA getting his upgrades as well, getting siege mode as we can see here. Clyde's going to need to still deal with this Banshee harassment. And, you know, Clyde kind of needs to take care of this quickly. I mean, he's kind of losing that timing where he can really go in and do some damage to MMA with his Marines and upgrades. And, yeah, this is...
wait.
I think it's one.
I don't know. I was saying oh no because he stimmed his whole army and that Banshee could have just run away very easily, but he stopped it and just let it die, unfortunately.
Yep. All of this is just letting MMA catch up in army size.
He's actually getting ahead in army size. He's 20 supply ahead at the moment. Getting siege tech. Actually, both players are getting siege tech. MMA is going to be a lot sooner, though. It's almost finished. Yeah,
the Banshees are always, to a certain extent, a bit of a gamble because it does kind of depend on your control of the Banshee to decide whether or not it'll be worth it to get that. But it was worth it. Oh, does that Marine see the Medivacs? Oh, they're just barely out of range.
Oh, not quite.
Clyde thinks the harassment's over. He's actually moving out with all these Marines right now.
Oh, no. If MMA sieges up those two tanks, he will be immune to this counterattack and he'll be able to do major damage in Clyde's base. He needs to see this coming in siege, though, and he sends a Marine up to the north. He is going to... well, he doesn't see it yet, but he might see it if he comes that way.
More Banshee harassment, and at the same time, MMA dropping off in the main base of Clyde. How much damage is he going to be able to do with this? It looks like a lot. Oh, he's got to be careful with his Medivacs, though. Oh, the meat grinder.
And Clyde's ready for that counterattack, though. MMA needs to siege up right now. He stims in.
No.
Oh, but he doesn't attack the tanks first, so he's going to move back and siege up. He needs to send his own Marines in to protect.
Some buffer here. It looks like MMA. Oh, I don't know.
This is so close. The second tank in the back, I think, is going to barely defend this.
Yeah, I think so here, too. Both of these guys losing a good amount of SCVs to this. What's the Workers' Loss tab at right now?
14 to 26, of course.
Oh, yeah,
those 26 includes several SCVs that were killed by MMA by the Banshee. But yeah, he's done a lot better right now.
Well, if you look at the worker count right now, MMA's way ahead.
17 workers ahead.
Yeah. So this is kind of, you know, what I had mentioned a little bit earlier where MMA was putting enough harassment pressure on Clyde that he couldn't move out with that really early Marine +1 stim timing like he wanted to. Because if he would have done that, he would have been able to do a lot of damage to MMA, but he couldn't because of the Banshees.
Very true. Very, very true. That was definitely an important part of stopping that attack from hitting at the right timing. MMA is retaking this expansion. He's only got 2 tanks there. A lot of Marines, though. And the Viking's going to stay overhead in order to make sure those Medivacs cannot get in view to have the vision advantage.
Yep. Scanning and firing back and forth with these two guys, and it looks like Clyde is going to lose his two-tank while MMA saves his. But the orbital command for MMA is taking some damage here. The only thing is MMA has more Marines right here, and he's going to go for it.
He's going to go for
Marine
it.
Spread. Oh, the Marines for Clyde on break time or something. They're not even participating, and Clyde with a big misstep there. I mean, Clyde didn't have enough to hold off MMA's little push there anyway, but it would have been a lot better if his Marines would have actually fought.
Yeah, no, that was that was a crucial time for those Marines to dive in and do what damage they could, and they just failed. Like you said, they were on break. They're like, I know there's a battle, but I'm right in the middle of this sandwich, and it's delicious.
Yeah. Well, you know, delicious sandwich, sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not, Clyde. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's like one of those awesome, you know, Reuben sandwiches. It's like the ham and the sauerkraut and the bread and everything. I don't care if it's one of those, even though that's the best sandwich of all time. You got to pay attention to your Marines, man.
One of the other Marines Hold that thought. Another major engagement in the middle. Both players sieging up. They need to fall back from the tank fire, though, but MMA might have just too many Marines. He's going to stim forward and take out those tanks.
Yeah.
And before another volley gets off, and GG.
And that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say at that point, Clyde just needs to pull back and be super defensive. And, you know, that's the end of the game. MMA just way ahead. He's like, can I sleep yet? Can I take a nap? I'm trying to put my head down on this keyboard.
He does look like he needs a little bit of a nap. But
I spent a lot of time with MMA lately. I can tell when he's tired and he's not. He's pretty tired, but he played great that game. Clyde just controlled by MMA the whole game. They did a great job controlling the pace of everything.
Yeah, it was a really nice timing. I really liked Clyde's build there. It just didn't work out. You know, it would have worked out against a lot of other things.
Yeah.
But he just had to pull back because of those Banshees, and because he went for the cloak as well, Banshees occupied him a lot longer. He didn't have the scans, and then he had to bring all of his other Marines back to kind of help with that because the Banshee was just doing so much damage with the cloak.
Well, this cloak Banshee after Gasless Expand that Terrans are doing now is pretty interesting. It's actually a little bit on the newer side. People have done it here and there, but basically a lot of people would skip cloak if they decided to even get Banshees after fast expanding just because they'd rather use the gas on other mid-game TVT things like Siege Mode or Blue Flame or something like that.
Yeah.
So getting this this late cloak timing with the Banshees is really starting to throw a lot of Terrans off because they're using their scans. They're not expecting it. You can see Clyde just wasn't prepared for the cloak. So I think that's something we might actually see a little bit more often. Players are going to need to start worrying about that timing, start saving a scan or two, you know, a little bit later than they normally would have to.
Yeah, it's an interesting switch, and especially interesting considering you said that he had scanned and seen the buildings switching, or he'd seen the buildings, and so he might have been able to suspect
yeah, he says certainly
the Banshees.
Banshees, I'm sure, yeah.
So it's a little interesting that he actually, in a way, saved himself. He was able to know that he needed to save scans by using a scan, but then he didn't save the scans.
That's true, too. I mean, with the current metagame, he probably wasn't expecting cloak, but seeing that, you know, it might be worth it to save a scan anyway. So definitely a little bit of a misstep from everybody's favorite Terran Clyde. But it's, you know, it's tough seeing this match actually because these are two of my favorite Terran players easily. I mean, I know MMA really well. He's a good friend of mine, and he's a great Terran too. But at the same time, Clyde is just so much fun to watch. He's got all these interesting timings and build he does. I've loved watching Clyde for a long time. So seeing these two guys meet up, it's sad that one of them's going to have to go home.
Yep.
But I think they're going to give us some good games.
That's the unfortunate part about the GSL is that somebody has to lose.
Yep.
Somebody has to lose.
That's right.
And right now, one of those two guys right there is going to have to lose.
I know.
So far, it's been Clyde on the left, MMA on the right, doing pretty well that game. Was never really in any trouble at any point.
No, MMA was perfectly fine the entire time. And this is the best of 5 as well.
Yes.
So we've got some time yet. I like best of 5.
Not over yet. Not over at all.
Give us plenty of time to see who's going to be best. We're about to find out. Let's move into the game.